financial crimes supervision because some of the major African markets have been listed on gray lists, right? The gray list of the Financial Action Task Force is a list of countries with deficient compliance with international standards, right? The thing is, many countries, in terms of compliance, especially financial crimes compliance, there's a global standard for what your laws should contain, what is expected of your laws, right? So you find that even Money Laundering Act in Nigeria, the Process of Crime Act in Kenya, everything conforms to an international standard with some slight variations here and there, right? So there's been a lot of activity in Africa recently, Nigeria, Kenya, South Africa, to try to cover some of the gaps that have been identified in their systems that is contributing to that perception of a deficiency at the global stage. So from fintechs, especially, you need to start to consider putting yourself in a proper light, really, because when things like that happen, we find that regulators are always coming out. I mean, introducing new regulations, enforcing their prior regulations, and trying to just put their feet down. I mean, of course, they will drop the hammer on some as well, right? So there may be some sanctions and penalties if your compliance program is not robust enough to address the obligations that you have. So that's another trend we're seeing. Another thing I would say is a trend is there's a bit of, like I said, many compliance obligations, they conform to a global standard, right? But you find some slight local variations that can be very crucial, right? For instance, there's a global standard for information security, the ISO 27001 standard, right? Of course, there are some other ones you could reference like that, but you find that in some countries or for some certain services, just getting one certification for your company would not work for all your branches in all those countries, right? For instance, in Ghana, I know that you need to have a separate local certification for your Ghanaian entity rather than having a global certification for all your entities, right? So we are starting to see that, a lot of Nigerian fintechs, a lot of fintechs across Africa want to operate cross-border, right? They want to operate across a number of countries. So understanding the local context of regulations in each of these countries is very important to, maintaining your operations there. So yeah, I think those are some I can give off the top of my head for now.